This was removed from a child's head, and what it is will shock you. Yeah guys, doctors pulled this from a child's head, and what it is will shock you. So I just came across this story on the internet, and it's absolutely crazy. A mom took her 1-year-old daughter to the doctor because she had some weird lines on the back of her head. And the doctor agreed that these lines were super weird and they were common with having a tumor. So they set her up with a neurologist to figure out what this thing was. And when they got the scans back from the child's head, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. This is a real photo of what they saw. This mass right here is the actual tumor, and these little white things right here are actually bones. If you didn't know, bones are never inside of tumors. So the 1-year-old went into surgery and they successfully removed this from the child's head. And this was actually her twin. This happens when a fertilized egg starts growing inside of the baby. And this has happened in history, but never inside of the other baby's brain. Usually this occurs in a different part of the body. And the 1-year-old actually went on to make a full recovery.
I know this clip is pretty disturbing to start the video off with, but what's even more disturbing is this comment. Check this out. This comment says, "This happened to my cousin, and that's actually how he died. He was living with his twin his whole adult life, and when they opened him up, it had fingers, hair, teeth, and everything."
Did your mom force you to eat Sam?
Yes. There was a victim named Sam. He was 8 years old from Chicago, or at least that's what my parents told me. Most traumatic night of my life. Like, my mom and dad were like, "He's your new brother." We had dinner with him. They called it the Last Supper, and afterwards they sacrificed him. So it was my turn when I was 5, almost 6, to solely sacrifice a child, and it was Sam, the 8-year-old. We just had dinner with him. I love Sam. I'll never stop loving Sam, and I'll never betray Sam. I think that he's a big reason why I'm here today recovering, because it was such a traumatic memory that I've held on. But during that ritual, we had dinner with Sam, and I thought he was my new brother, and I was so excited because I'm like, this 8-year-old's gonna save my broken family. And after the ritual, things changed pretty quick. Roles in my family changed throughout the years. For example, my older sister started to graduate towards the cleanup role, which was my father's role. So during the exact ritual itself, my older sister wasn't there. I remember me on the right, my younger sister on the left. My mom was behind me, and she gave me a knife for my right hand, and she told me to do it to Sam. I wouldn't. I couldn't. And I thought either something really bad would happen to me or Sam would get let go. So there was a lot of communication in this ritual. My mom was saying, "You have to do it, you have to do it." And like I said, she always had this sense of urgency. She was just getting so mad at me. And I thought she would take my hand and make me do it myself. And that's not what happened. She gave it to somebody else who looked very disassociated and did it themselves.
Did your mom force you to eat Sam?
Yes. That was my consequence for not sacrificing Sam. And it wasn't the first time I was fed human flesh. Thankfully, my mother cooked it. I've heard of other stories where they don't. But because it was Sam, someone who I grew an attachment to, I feel like that was me drinking the Kool-Aid or taking sips. Like, that's kind of what enabled me, or a big factor, to go into denial, because I felt so guilty. And I will say, I didn't eat any of them fully. Like, I had this thing where I would chew it up, and then when my mom wasn't looking, I would put it under a blanket or in a milk glass. She never said anything to me about it, thank God. But I feel like I did that to help alleviate some of the guilt.
Sure.
And I think it might have worked too.
I mean, but she still chewed on him, though. Like, she had him in her mouth, and she was chewing him up. Typically, when people do stuff like this, they have a tendency to not, like, tell anybody at all what they're doing or where they're going.
Interested in, like, climate change. So you start looking on that. That's a big issue. I mean, your kids are worried about it for a good reason. Okay, climate. It leads you to weather. Then you're looking up stuff about the weather. Then it leads you to Stormy Daniels. All right, now you're into porn. Now you're into a porn site. What do?
How does that even correlate? Like, how does that even lead up to that?
Under the Earth, there are 7 more planets that are disks. What? Yeah.
7 flat worlds?
Pretty much. I'm the only one who can show you from astrology, from the Bible, and from the East, and from all traditions, how they all syncretize and concur that the Earth is a stationary horizontal plane.
I love
You have to do it like that. If you don't do it like that, you can't do it properly. You can't just have one angle. You can't just say, oh, all the scientific experiments that have been conducted prove, George Airy, James Bradley, Sagnac, Michelson Morley, they all prove that the Earth is stationary, and that's your one angle. You can't just have one angle. I'm coming from the Jewish tradition. I'm coming from the Bhagavad Gita. I'm showing how the Bible proves it with great etymological proofs, and no one else is doing that. I do that and all the other angles.
Is this a dimension? Are we living in an energy force that has multiple layers?
You know the Kabbalistic tree, right? There it is there, the 10 Sephiroth, your 10 fingers. There's Kether, and there's Malkuth, the earth. So is it a dimension? Yes, it is. But it's all these things, from Kether to earth, which is ether to earther, same word. So if you're asking, what's the earth? Well, it's just ether in a gross, more solidified form.
The Amazon is not entirely a natural product. The Amazon is a human-made garden. The trees in the Amazon that produce food are hyper-dominant. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because human beings made that happen. They created this incredible, we still don't understand it fully today, the Terra Preta, the black earth, which is immensely fertile, which reproduces its own fertility through bacteria in the soil. This is evidence of science. There were cities in the Amazon, populations of 100,000 or more, gigantic geometrical structures, huge squares, circles, a circle surrounded by a square, enormous constructions that you would not expect to find hunter-gatherer civilizations having made, and yet there they are. They're even finding pyramids in the middle of the Amazon.
The mummification that you see in Egypt and these tombs, all the riches, all the gold, the cats, the wives are all in there with you. When you go, everybody got to go. Well, why is that? If I'm going to go to some afterlife, I know that this money and gold ain't coming to the afterlife. They were told that the mummification process was about saving the DNA to be brought back to life at a later time. The beginning pharaohs, they were the sons of these Anunnaki gods. We promise you, we're going to bring you back. You're going to be immortal. We'll bring you back to life. So keep everything here, hide it good. That's why the tombs were hidden. They come back to life. Let me get my key so I can get my gold and get all my riches back out because I'm a rule again. It's about preserving DNA to be cloned, transferred into a brand new body here in this realm, nowhere else.
Definitely interesting. I've never thought about it like that.
A lot of the elites had their summer homes in Jekyll Island, including the Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, the Morgans.
This reminds me, if I can, talk about the place we got married.
Yeah.
It's like a hidden gem, the place that we got married, the venue called the Sidoni Mansion. It was built at the turn of the century by a dude who was buddies with all of those guys you just mentioned. And he went on a hunting trip. He was hunting on this land that he ultimately ended up purchasing and building the Sidoni Mansion, which was originally a hunting lodge, but then just turned into their Christmas home. What's so strange about it is that they had this huge wealth, and he also had 5 children, which at the turn of the century, they say if you had that kind of money and that many children at the turn of the century, you would have like hundreds of descendants today. But they have 3 living relatives. All the wealth is mysteriously gone. Every single family member, apart from one daughter, died in that house.
And they only went there for Christmas.
They were only there for Christmas.
There's something hidden there. That's scary.
I don't like that.
It makes you think, because it's like,
So you're telling me there's secret bunkers under the United States, but we're not on the guest list? So there are massive underground bunkers built by the US government that are fully stocked and ready for doomsday. Most people have no idea these places exist. From nuclear-proof command posts to elite hideouts for politicians, these bunkers are stocked, guarded, and ready for doomsday. But if the hits the fan, you're not getting in. Let's start with Raven Rock Mountain Complex, also known as Site R. Think of this one as like the underground Pentagon. It's located in Pennsylvania. It was built during the Cold War, and this is where all the top brass would go if Washington is going to get nuked. It's got its own housing, blast doors, command center, everything they need. Next up, we have Cheyenne Mountain Complex. This is located in Colorado, deep in the Granite Mountains, and it's actually designed to take a direct nuclear hit. This is where NORAD will be based in the event of something crazy happening. This is where they can track missiles, aircraft, and basically run everything 24/7. Literally a military brain inside of a mountain. But the most eerie, Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center, located in Virginia. This is the real-life continuation of government location. This is where select military officials, even media, would be evacuated to in the event of a massive attack, and it's actually still operational today. It's heavily secured and completely off limits. Here's the kicker, guys. These are meant to protect them. So what's your plan in the event something crazy like this happens?
I mean, I guess it's not completely selfish of them because they do offer bunkers for sale. Like, there's many bunkers out there that are actually up for sale. Now, the prices, yeah, they're pretty questionable, but how bad do you want to survive a nuclear war or apocalypse? So Mount Weather from the TV show The 100 was actually based off an actual place.
We've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while. Well, that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter. Well, it was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
Is it any secret? Is there uranium there? That would be the only thing that would be practical to actually go after, I suppose. Everything else would be economically unfeasible, wouldn't it?
Well, as we recklessly expend our resources, the time will come when we'll have to go after that stuff down there. Well, you know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctic.
And Robert, is there a competition among other nations to try to get information about Antarctica and possibly to secure some of these resources?
Well, yes. There are now 7 nations very much interested. Russia is interested tremendously. That I'm sure of. Australia has an expedition down there. The Argentine, the Chile, New Zealand, Britain, and so on. Now, you can understand those people down there being interested because they live down there, the New Zealanders, the Argentinians, the Chileans, and Australians. And so we don't do much about claiming anything.
Admiral, you make this sound a little crowded. Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
If they're finding resources or something out there, just like keep in mind the size of Antarctica, right? No wonder they came to a conclusion or like a treaty. Like damn near any country could have a piece of it if they wanted to, and they could still be far away from the other country that's out there.
Did you ever ask for information? They said, we can't tell you.
No, but I will tell you that there were times where I asked for information that it came slower than I wanted. Prying information out of the bowels of an agency can be challenging.
UFOs? Any UFOs? Did you ask about that?
Certainly asked about it.
And?
Can't tell you. Sorry.
Okay.
Can
UFOs.
I say it used to be that UFOs was the and what is it? Roswell was the biggest conspiracy, and now that seems so tame, right?
Right.
The idea that the government might have an alien spaceship.
So what he's basically saying is what he knows is crazier than aliens. Complete different life form.
Yo, this is the most deadly lake in the entire U.S. Lake Lanier. It's crazy how empty this bitch is. It's like people know everybody come in here die. I mean, they try to save you, but I don't know. I heard that ain't even enough for this shit.
Apparently there's a town below this lake. Get this. In China, there's a common belief that victims of drownings cannot leave the lake or pass to the other side unless they drown someone else to take their place. So drowning in bodies of water starts a vicious cycle of drownings. I wouldn't get in no water knowing there's like a town under it. And I'm like, damn, dude, you look, you sound crazy.
He made that airplane so cheap for me, I couldn't help but buy it. This is Kenneth Copeland, perhaps the scariest and richest pastor in the world.
Do you really believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did.
Known for his $300 million net worth, $7 million mansion, and his 3 private jets, with his very own airstrip behind his house, he's managed to become one of the wealthiest pastors America has ever seen. And I'm going to his church to find out why. The first thing I noticed was Kenneth Copeland's store, selling everything you could think of and the Bible, somewhere. But as the sermon began, I learned that a lot of this church's message was to basically claim blessings from God, and if you had enough faith, your life would be blessed. But only if you've contributed your tithes to help your favorite pastor Kenneth maintain his lavish lifestyle.
I didn't even know he was Jewish.
Take this piece off here, and put it over here. And now you see, the United States is no longer in the middle of the map.
Right.
Now, I did this with a major record company in New York City, I think in 1970. And an older man stood up in the back of the room and said, "Now, Elliot, you've gone too far." I said, "What's your problem?" "You can't do that with the map." I said, "Well, actually you can." He said, "No, the United States isn't in the middle of the map anymore." I said, "The United States never was in the middle of the map. You need to realize this depends on how you draw your map." And then I pointed this little fact out to him. South America is actually 9 times larger than Greenland.
Even though it doesn't really look like it.
No, it is. South America is actually 9 times larger than Greenland.
It's crazy.
Now, according to your social studies teachers, what is the equator? Halfway between the North Pole and the South Pole on this map would be right about here.
Right.
And that means that Iowa has a semi-tropical climate. Well, you've been in Minnesota in the wintertime.
I've been in Iowa too. It's definitely
You know that it doesn't have a tropical climate. So you have to then introduce a real version of the map of the world. That's what this is doing.
She just has him in her purse.
That's very good. The Peters projection map. The sizes on this map are right. The shapes are distorted. Look at Greenland on this map. Right there. See it?
Yeah, it's really tiny.
See how small that is?
Right.
Look at it on the Mercator projection.
So why do they do that? I don't understand.
Why? Because the Pope commissioned Mercator to make a map that shows the spread of Christianity. So all the countries in which there are predominantly white people are larger than those in the southern part of the world, halfway between the North Pole and South Pole. Now, if you have children going to school and they're seeing this map.
These guys are from Poland. What do you think is the most impactful Polish invention?
Polish invention.
Polish. Naft lamp?
Naft lamp?
Kerosene lamp. And it was actually a failed attempt of making alcohol.
Vodka.
Vodka is number 9.
Vodka was invented by a Pole? I honestly wouldn't think that Polish people invented anything.
No, you have
No.
to speak good about our
Yeah,
country, you know?
I'm not
Yeah.
even from here though. Bullet vest?
Kevlar. Bulletproof vest is number 2. At number 6, this is the most recent one. It's a material 200 times stronger than steel and nearly transparent.
I don't know the name, so...
Graphene.
Whoa!
Polonez, the car.
Polish car?
Kabowy. Pierogi, yeah, pierogi. Bagel?
Yeah.
Polish?
Bagels were invented in Krakow.
Walkie-talkie?
Walkie-talkie is at number 3. There is a language at number 8.
Is it something to do with Esperanto?
Esperanto.
Metal detector?
Number 4. At number 7, there is a thing that was invented by a Polish pianist. Because invention of a stapler kind of meant that it's not useful.
Ja nie wiem, co mam powiedzieć.
Yeah, paperclip.
Wonder what is number 1 then.
Number 1 is a vaccine. Sounds a little bit like Poland.
8?
How does 8 sound like Poland?
I'd like to visit Poland. They seem chill.
Watch this brand new Tesla Model Y roll off the line and drive itself to be delivered. That's absolutely insane. So this guy, Joe, on X, he always flies his drone around the Tesla factory, the Tesla Austin factory. And he was asked to follow a car to see what the route looks like when a Model Y or a new car comes off the line and goes to its logistics slot. So just I want to point something out, like, first of all, this is not a closed loop of a road. This is an open road with trucks, construction, motorcycles, whatever. But what's exciting is, like, if it can do this, there's no driver in there right now. And if it's driving like this, what's going to stop it from driving all the way to your house instead of the logistics lot, right? Like Elon Musk said, this is going to happen this year in 2025, which absolutely blows my mind. And also the cost savings of this, like there's no employee that has to go and come back and go and come back. And also look, this birthing tunnel of the Cybertrucks, the Cybertruck also driving itself all the way to the logistics lot. This is absolutely insane. We're living in the future. These two cars just driving themselves without a driver and going in their own lane in the logistics lot waiting to be delivered. Eventually, they're just going to deliver themselves straight to your house. Absolutely insane. And then there's another Model Y coming over here. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Let me know.
Pretty soon, they're going to make it to where like there doesn't even need to be a pilot in a plane. They're just going to have them be autopilot from like takeoff to landing. And that would be crazy.
Start getting pretty hectic.
I can't take a deep breath.
The music started playing and you just felt your whole body just move forward.
It came overwhelming really fast. This is one of the oldest known structures in India, y'all. And people still do not know to this day how this was built. And not even just how, why it was built. Let me show y'all something, man. Look at the structure on this place, y'all. And look how like the angles and how in depth it goes. They said it's over 100 feet deep, with stairs going all the way down. Where were they going? Now I'm not gonna lie to y'all, to me, this looked like the entrance to Hollow Earth, like one of the entrances. Because if y'all don't know, there's a lot of entrances around the earth supposedly, you know what I'm saying, that leads to Hollow Earth. Stargates and like travel ways, you feel me? Now this is an example of what I was talking about. I'm about to zoom in for y'all. Wait. Now if you can see, there's supposed to be entrances all across the world. Brazil, over there by the falls, Niagara Falls, Kentucky Plymouth Cave. One of the volcanoes lead down there. A couple of different Johns near the Giza. Look at that. The ocean. Now this could just be a theory, you feel me? But we do know that there are like stories of going to Hollow Earth at different parts. Like history is really crazy, yo.
Love to be like, oh, but Americans aren't well traveled. They can't point out where Switzerland is on a map.
Brit in America here, and I now know why Americans aren't well traveled. Trust me, they are well traveled, but there's a reason why. I've spent many months in America, like actively trying to get to as many states as possible in America, and I haven't even scratched the surface. Americans don't need to venture outside America because America is that big. Americans go on vacation in America. I'm in the UK back home. It can take me 45 minutes to get to France, Germany, right? Amsterdam. These are whole different countries across water. 45 minutes. I just don't think Europeans are clued up on how big America really is. Like, Americans don't need to venture out. You'll be surprised that a lot of Americans will not have passports. They don't need them. Every single state in America is like its own country. Literally like its own country. Isn't like the UK where things are similar. In America, you go to a different state, it's like a whole different world. So now I get it why Americans aren't well traveled. Americans are well traveled, just in their own country. Their country is massive, mate. I don't think people really understand the scale and the size of America. It is insane.
Yeah, sometimes traveling to a different state here in America feels like you're entering a different country sometimes.
Mark Goodyear? Yeah. Let me ask you, what do you think? Am I the evil culprit, the accomplice? I'd like to know how the audience views me.
Well, that's absolutely terrifying. So let me explain why people think that Mark Goodyear here has a role in the Fox Hollow case. Mark is the only survivor of the serial Herb Baumeister. So this is Herb. He was active in the 1980s to the 1990s. He would lure gay men to his property and then take care of them there and then bury them on his property. Mark says that he met him at a bar. The guy bought him a drink and he felt suspicious about it, so he went to the bathroom, dumped it out, rinsed out the glass, and then returned back with a glass full of water. He then said he went back to his place and they had consensual bounch-go-wow-wow. During a new documentary, though, it seems like there was a lot of discrepancies in the case and people are now pointing fingers to him, especially with how odd and creepy he was acting in this documentary. I do part 2 where I dive even deeper into him.
I don't think the part 2 is needed. I can see why they think that.
Who is the most powerful person in America?
Oh, I don't think anybody would probably know their name. Yeah, they're sort of behind the scenes. But certainly people on this committee, like Admiral Wilson.
The guy running BlackRock is really the president of the United States. They took 51 defense companies and they brought it down to only 5. It's only 5 companies right now when you want to buy anything. Think about that. So defense contractors is 5. We know how these guys make money. Or if you and I run a hotel, rooms are empty, we're not making money. We need people to stay in rooms. If you and I are running a hospital, we need people on the beds to make money.
Yeah.
If there's no people on the beds, we ain't making money. If these 5 contractors are fighting for $744 billion, what do they want more of? Wars. They want more wars, more people dying, more profits, defense contractors, right? That's a valid concern that I have.
All right, boys, we about to hit something I found out here. Muha Meds.
Guys, me and Yeti just found this book called Death Note on the floor while we're walking on the trail. The instructions say, anyone whose name you write here will die. Yeti, should we use it? Shit, we might as well test it out on this guy. Brutus the gorilla.
Brutus the gorilla was found dead earlier this evening in an ice cavern. Authorities say there were no signs of struggle.
Oh shit, the book really works!
This is a medallion, also called a galvanic battery. It's a specific combination of 7 metals. And I'm pretty sure that's what they're wearing. You see, I got this to experiment, and I learned that it charges you even more when it is in salt water or when you perspire. So I was going to encase it into a sweatband. Then I remembered these guys. What if that's what they were doing? They had these on certain parts of their body, just like those armaments. These are armbands at different parts of their meridian body. You see, our body is made of this energetic pathway, and different crystals and metals affect it. And what if they were using this for health and not for teleportation like I thought? That's still possible. I'm gonna go work up a sweat, put this on, and see what happens.
From the Soviet Union that these guys shot at a UFO and it turned them into stone.
Is it true?
I don't know. The CIA investigated it. Here, I'll send it to you, Jamie, because I sent it to Jeremy Corbell. That's what I asked him.
Fuck, I should have had links, Jamie. God damn it.
Well, this is the only link I have. It's
CIA UFO turned into stone.
You find that stuff.
You're
Did you
definitely on
find
a
it?
watch list, Jamie.
Yeah, so there's literally like a CIA document about it, that these guys supposedly shot at a low-flying spaceship. Look at it. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles.
Poles.
Yeah, only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived.
No shit.
The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. Oh my God.
It turned them into limestone.
Turned them literally into limestone.
And this is a CIA paperwork?
Well, this is, you know, they're reading from a KGB file, right? So it's just, go to the very bottom of that again, Jamie, the very bottom of that. It says, one of the things that says, the CIA representative stated, if the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked. But the thing is, they're saying if the file corresponds to reality, that means there's a question.
If this is real, they're tough.
Yeah.
But I mean, if this is like a KGB file, I don't really see those guys trolling too often, so it might be real.
What are the face peelers?
Back in 2023, there was a series of videos that went viral, and these videos were captured in the Peruvian Amazon. Chaotic scene in which the villagers were running around screaming, saying, we're being assaulted by aliens, and they were using the term pela cara, which is face peeler. I had to go down there to investigate a particular incident, which was the attempted abduction of a 15-year-old girl. And she told me one evening she was in her backyard, and she bent over to pick up the fruit. She felt a wind at her back, and she looked up to see what was generating this wind, and she saw this person dressed in black body armor flying on a disc, and then he landed next to her and he grabbed her from behind. He put his hand over her mouth. Another one lands in front of her and he grabs her legs. They took out a long tube, and this had a cream in it, and the guy that was holding her mouth from behind, he started to smear this cream all over her face. And as he was doing it, the guy in front said, be careful, don't put too much on because you're going to ruin the flesh. After they apply this stuff to her face, they take out a laser scalpel and they begin to make an incision under her jawline, and she starts to struggle. And as they're beginning to cut, she starts to freak out, and she gets her hand underneath the helmet of the guy behind her, and she starts to lift up on the helmet. He gets agitated, he freaks out a little bit, and they drop her. She lets out a blood-curdling scream. Her brother and a group of other villagers come running instantly. And Talia, before she passed out, she said that the assailants said, let's go, we got to get out of here. And then one of them said, no, we can't just leave her here.
They were speaking English, so I'm guessing it was like military or like some black ops operation. Or Hillary Clinton.
Let me pass, motherfuckers! Streets are for cars, not pussies! I love these new speed bumps. Thump, thump!
Alright, AI is kind of scaring me.
I've never been more convinced that sound can manipulate reality.
Watch this, y'all. This is insane. Watch, y'all. The water just rises out of nowhere.
Everything vibrates at a frequency, and if you know that frequency, you can control things. This is the model, and this is diagramming all the frequencies of the elements and what their vibrational frequencies are, and the numbers that measure those frequencies. And they're all the numbers we get from looking at these ancient traditions that occur over and over and over again.
Y'all see that car?
Through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above. All the above.
We call these transducers, which is just a fancy word for speakers. These speakers, they only work at one frequency, and this frequency is 40 kilohertz, which we shouldn't be able to hear. Only bats, dogs, and other animals should be able to hear 40 kilohertz. But because the ultrasound is so powerful, if we put some particles, they should be kept immediately.
Stay weird, y'all.
Iran attacked me out of nowhere! America needs to go to war for me!
Basically.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population. At all? No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? How many people live in Iran? 92 million. Okay. Yeah, how could you not know that? I don't sit around memorizing population tables. Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government. Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant? Because if you don't know anything about the country... I didn't say I don't know anything about the country. What's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay,
No,
this is
no,
cute.
it's not
Okay.
even. You don't know anything about Iran. So
Okay,
actually, the
I am
country,
not the Tucker Carlson
No, but
expert on Iran.
You're a
who
senator
says,
who's calling for the
you're one who
overthrow of the
claims-
government.
You're the
and
one
you
who
don't know
claims
anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No,
You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out
I'm
if it was
saying
a good
you don't
idea to kill
believe-
General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you
we
really
are
believe that,
carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not
at all.
bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
This is
Israel.
high stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this video right here. If you guys did enjoy this video, let me know by leaving a thumbs up and or subscribing if you guys are new. I'm going to be real with you guys. I couldn't find anything interesting last night when I was scrolling. And I seen you guys creeping up on the 150 mark, and I was like, all right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and just crush 100 likes on this video, and I'll do another video tomorrow. Hopefully that one will be better. I'll try my best for the rest of the night to try to find some good stuff. Anyways, like always, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.